the context of the first parsha of Tefillin, imagine this. They just left Mitzrayim, okay? 600,000 people walking out of Mitzrayim. And now Hashem says, before Kriyas Yamsuf, right? Well, they left Mitzrayim before Kriyas Yamsuf, a few days in there. He says these two parshios. This is before Matan Torah. The Torah hasn't been given yet, which is kind of strange to have mitzvos without having a relationship of Kabbalah's and mitzvos. It's a weird thing. Okay, so it's before the Torah is given. Then, the end of the Torah, which is called Mishnah Torah, which is Moshe Rabbeinu is translating, is teaching, is explaining the Torah. And he has two parashiyos that he writes. One is right after he explains Aseres HaDibros, which is called Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And one is in Parashas Ekev, where he's teaching all kinds of midos. For example, the midah of Kochiv Yotzim Yadi is there, Brachos are there, right? Yiras Hashem is there. Then he tells this parasha, the last parasha, which we know from Kriya Shema every day, V'hayim Shema Tishmu El Mitzvosai. Okay? So there are different spaces totally. One's before Matan Torah, one's explanation, and both of these things are an integral part of the messages we need to be given daily. And one more thing, there's 4 parshiyos, right? So when you think about the Shel Rosh, there's 4 parshiyos. Okay? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's actually not accurate. We're going to learn the Gemara, there's really 2 and 2. And the Gemara is clear, one has to do with right, one has to do with left. Which is kind of fascinating because the right brain and the left brain, right? Yeah. So the first 2 are right, and the second 2 are left. Okay? So that's something to think about when you're reading these parshios, both the context and both the time period it was given in, and the fact that we'll see this really interesting thing. It's really clear in the Gemara that there's right and left going on. Okay? So, let's break off into pairs. And one more thing. Torah shebichsav is like magic. What does it mean it's like magic? It means that the Torah that we're learning is not the Torah. It's an access to the Torah. The Torah is ideas. Like the Gemara says, it's written on Eish Chora al Eish Levana. It's the source of the whole world. It's the blueprint of the entire world. This document that we have is Hashem's way of us relating to that Torah. Okay? So it's just a portal. So actually when you read the words, it's called Mikra. The mitzvah is likrot. You ever go into the shul and they do Kriyas HaTorah? You're like, right? Because it's boring. Because we're used to concepts. The fact that you read the words opens your neshama to receiving concepts that you may not even be able to consciously translate what just happened, but you are opening yourself up. Okay? And the last thing which is important is to realize that you have a personal relationship with this chumash, and you're not. The reason I didn't put any mefarshim on this page, because I don't care. Because right now you're learning the Torah. If I wanted to experience what the Sephorno has to say about his life, his understanding of Torah, would do that, and it's very valuable. You can have eitzah from all kinds of people. But the first thing is, you should be learning your Torah. Your questions, your answers. Sometimes you'll learn something from someone else and say, wow, you know what? I appreciate that. I'm going to indoctrinate into my Torah. And sometimes they'll say, I don't know, I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to do that. But it should start from your personal relationship. That's why I don't want anybody lurking in the Mefarshim right now. You want to look at Mefarshim later. And knowing that when you read this thing, again, belief has a huge part of it. It's not that you have to work it all out. You know, we're used to in yeshivas, like, well, there's a question, there's an answer, very, very organized thought. And that's true. That is chachma of Torah Shebal Peh, and it's a type of thing that came into the world after nevuah was taken away. But Torah Shelichsav is nevuah, which means Hashem is talking to you. In the same way, when I talk to you, I say the words, but you understand a lot more than I said. You understand my feelings. You understand maybe what I want in the world, right? Even though it did not say it in the words. So if you're very stuck on the words themselves, the details, and you're not opening yourself up to hear what's behind it, you'll miss the point. Okay, so try to listen while you're hearing, while you're reading. Open yourself up to listen, and listening is a good way of understanding what's behind the words. And what's behind the words is or that is your neshama can understand, and your moach may not understand. Your moach will translate what your neshama got. Anybody not understand what I just said? Like, I'll give you a mashal, okay? People, this is a mashal, not suggesting anybody do this one way or the other. Psychedelic, okay? A person takes a psychedelic, what they're doing is leaving the reality that they're used to and putting themselves in a different place. They have concepts, things that are way beyond the things that they're usually able to do. That's an expression of leaving moach and going to moichin. And I'm not suggesting necessarily that's a good way or a bad way, I'm not getting into that, right? But if a person does meditation, the mashal, like I know people who would meditate and get chidushei Torah. Just receive ideas, right? Really what we're doing always when we're learning is that. Just sometimes we're more participatory, we're using our kelim to think, and we understand that this comes out of this. But as the Vilna Gaon said, even Torah Shebal Peh, Yagata u'matzasa. The Gemara says if you work hard and you find, then believe him. The word matzasa means the mitzia. A mitzia means you walk down the street, you see you don't work for it at all. In other words, there's not a correlation, natural correlation between the energy you put into what comes out. That's a gift. Because the energy you put in of the learning is actually to take away blocks. It isn't the thing itself. Right? For example, it will be a time when everybody will be able to Malei Sa'aretz Adas Hashem, they'll just go like this and be received. They won't even have the whole process of Sefer Torah. Which gets you thinking, if you think about this deeply, it's people in this generation have made it a business to make huge Otzar Sfarim. And every sefer that exists in the history of the world, wow, we got him back, it was lost, and now great, now we have this sefer. Right? I question that. Is that actually a value? How valuable would it be for you to spend your whole day going through all of the Sfarim on this Sfarim shelf? What I think would happen is you learn someone else's Torah. You know who Doeg Vachel Teufel was? They lost their Chedek Elon Havla. They were a huge Talmid Chacham. So the Chesed Avram says the reason they lost their Chedek Elon Havla is because they learned someone else's Torah. They didn't learn their Chedek in Torah. Okay, you were saying that before about being true to yourself?
True to your Torah.
True to your Torah. And therefore there shouldn't be this machlokas thing like, no, I'm right. No, you're right.
That's just like,
You know what it is? It's Gaia.
yeah.
Okay, so shots from Well, what happens if let's say I'm weak in Gemara, and then I'm better at learning like halacha. So do I just I'm gonna just get stronger in halacha and not like practice my Gemara? Be like, oh wow, that's not my Torah.
Could be. 100%. The Gemara says mefurish. There's Marei Mikra, Marei Mishnah, Marei Talmud. There are people who are masters of psukim, masters of Mishnah, which is halacha, and people are masters of Gemara. If Klal Yisrael was normal, then we would teach children when they're young, to connect to their essence and follow the things that are meaningful to them. Not decide for them that everybody should be learning Gemara from the age of 8. That is literally, I'm sorry, psychologically insane. Really, there's something psichi about that, right? They're very different type of neshamas. The people, I know huge Talmid Chachamim who are very specifically oriented like this, and they're not, some people enjoy it and some people don't. And they're not supposed to be anything different. They're doing a great job.
They say like the when you're younger and you like learn Torah, and then after you become like whatever, a drug dealer or whatever, and when you're younger and you're like a bad kid or whatever, when you're older, like you're a big chacham or whatever.
So what I understood what you're saying is if you let a kid be fully expressed, called bad kid, right? Then he develops his kelim, and when he's older, he uses them to do great things. Hmm? That's what he said.
Mhm.
And if you squash a person because you decide that he's going to be, I'm just now working with a guy who was a very big masmid, extremely big masmid. He
You don't must with it?
like always learning. Okay, he was a very good father actually, connected to his kids, but he was always learning. And at the age of 38, he's like, this is all. I don't want to do this anymore. Drop the whole thing. Why? Because he was never being true to himself for 1 minute. You don't drop things you're passionate about. You just don't. Okay, so we ready?
So is this sheet has, this is what we're gonna learn?
All the 4 parshios from the Chumash, and the first 2 are consecutive in the end of Parshas Bo.
Okay.
The last, I put the parakim on it, and the last 2, one is in Parshas V'eschanan, one in Parshas Ekev, right? And I'd like to suggest we split up with Chavrusos because it's good to talk things out. So,
Oh my God. Man,
how do you want to work it out, guys?
let's do this.
There's 4 of you, so
Oh.
no. How do you want to split it?
You know Hebrew?
Who doesn't want to learn with their father?
Yeah.
You got to learn together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hebrew, but I can.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
We'll do it
So you
together.
usually want to learn with
I like that,
Huh?
yeah. I do
Yeah?
struggle here and there.
Sure.
I don't think they're gonna learn if they don't together.
Maybe
They'll do whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
I teach him.
They'll do whatever they need to
Okay,
do.
so this is the first parsha
Have
that we're
fun.
talking